Okay, so now we're on to Saw 3. You know, after you have success with one movie and the sequel, you might as well go with another sequel and try to keep it near Halloween to try to control Halloween as best they can. 3 for some people is kind of like a make or break in the series. It's hard to have a good third movie, in like recent history. So the Matrix trilogy, 1 was good, 2 was okay, 3 tried to do way too much. X-Men. X-Men 1, very good. X-Men 2, beautiful. X-Men 3, Spider-Man 1, very good. Spider-Man 2, equal if not better. Spider-Man 3, too much going on, didn't work. Now we're on to Saw 3. Again, it began with a very good trap. You know, I love the chain trap with Troy. I actually met the guy who did it. I think it's Jayla Roast is his name. Great guy. Great guy to meet. You know, he'll talk with you. He'll actually, converse with you about the movie and about life in general, which is weird to get from an actor. But okay. This one deals with a person who's more or less thrown his life away in getting revenge on the person who killed one of his children in a car accident. More or less, his child was on a bike, typical driver not paying attention, kid's done, brown bread. And more or less, he's kind of thrown his life away about it. So, that ends up being what you see for probably roughly half of the movie as you see that playing out. And it plays out differently because you have a person actually deciding the fate of someone else. This is the woman who saw everything happen but didn't go to court. Will you let her live or die? This is the judge who, handed out the life sentence. Will you let him live or die? Here's the person who actually hits your kid. Will you let them live or die? That added a different level of complexity to it. And that's all within a much bigger frame. While that's going on, you've got Jigsaw dying. He's actually going to succumb to the cancer. They do some more background with him. That's pretty good. I do enjoy learning more about, the main villain. You also find out that his apprentice, Amanda, has been trying to carry on his work. Of course, she kind of forgot one little tidbit. The traps kind of need to be escapable, or at the very least, winnable. There needs to be some way to not die. There needs to be, in the first one it was, you're going to die unless you cut off your foot, or you're going to die unless you find the key. You're going to die unless you can make it to the trap door. You're going to die unless you can find a combination. In 2, you're going to die if you can't get out of here. You're going to die if you can't figure out the combination of this. You're going to die if you can't just sit back and relax for a few hours. This one, you see 2 traps. One is the Troy trap. The other one is the Death Angel trap, which is a beautiful trap. If you own the third one, watch the behind the scenes where they discuss how the traps they make in this movie actually work. So they try to do lots more like practical, which is great. Practical works in horror movies. Build a fake body part, try to make it as real as possible, and then break it. Looks so much better than like a CGI shot. Okay. So I discussed probably about 45-50% of the movie just in the guy trying to figure out if he can let go Jigsaw dying, which leads to a phenomenal scene. The brain surgery scene, where it's done like old school, like power drills and like Dremels. That's intense, and that's worth the price of admission alone. So there's the basis of the story right there. You have Jigsaw dying, and he's trying to see if his test subject can survive, can make the right choices and get through it all. The person who's working on Jigsaw is Lynn, and Lynn's got on this great like bomb collar. If Jigsaw dies, boom, she's done for. This all leads up to the ending sequence. Pretty much, he doesn't save the first guy. He doesn't save the woman who dies by being frozen to death. That's a horrible way to go. He saves the judge in like the dead pig vat. Which, it was good he saved him. He doesn't quite save the last guy in time in the rack. Where the guy more or less, it's a tick one, it's not a giant snap, you get bones breaking. When I saw it in theaters, everyone, I've had a leg injury. And if you ever had a leg injury and you see it happen to someone else, it cuts you to the core. I mean, the only thing that's like a rhinoplasty scene, and this would have been way too cringeworthy. So you do the penultimate scene. And here is the ultimate spoiler of this whole movie. And this is what made it or break it for some people. And this is why Saw 3 is my favorite Saw movie. The person who is being tested, it's not, I think his name's Jeff. It's not him. It's Amanda. Because Amanda's been killing people. That's not what Jigsaw wants. It's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to test people to see what they've got, what they're willing to sacrifice to survive. Death traps are not that. If you can't leave, then there's no learning. It ends up being that the trap was, could she let Lynn survive long enough? No, she can't. That's when Jeff comes in. Lynn is Jeff's wife. Jeff shoots Amanda. Amanda dies. Asks Jigsaw. Jigsaw's one that's like, hey, what are you gonna do? You gonna show me mercy or not? Takes a power saw. Right across his throat. Sprays blood everywhere. Kills Jigsaw, which in turn kills his wife. So at the end of this movie, you have no apprentice, and Jigsaw is dead. Kind of ballsy, for a third movie, to have killed off your main character and the person who's supposed to carry on his work. And then comes the final clue of the movie. Jeff's other child, his daughter, is kidnapped and hidden somewhere. And the only person who knew where she was is Jigsaw, who's dead. That was like the best ending they had since the first one, when Jigsaw stood up, walked out of the room, and I was like, oh yeah, by the way, your key was in the tub with you. Game over. Slammed the door shut. That was intense. When you're like, and they're going to go where with Saw 4 next year. So at that time, they'd already mentioned they want to do Saw 4 and 5. And how can you continue a horror movie franchise when you've killed off your two main villains? Next, Saw 4.